Chosen ones, you've felt it for a while now. A subtle stirring within your soul, a call that feels both urgent and timeless. This isn't the first time you've been told you were different, but this time, the confirmation is undeniable. God is positioning you for something extraordinary, something that defies human understanding. You weren't made to blend in. You were chosen to stand out, to be a beacon of light in a world that desperately needs it. But before the world recognizes your worth, there's a process, a divine refinement. Right now, you might feel overlooked, as if your potential is hidden in plain sight. Let me assure you, this is no accident. God often works behind the scenes before he places his chosen ones on the main stage. Just as David was anointed long before he was crowned king, your season of preparation has been about aligning you with your purpose, equipping you with everything you'll need for the journey ahead. The path you're on isn't for the faint of heart. You've endured trials that seemed unfair, moments of rejection that stung deeply, and seasons of waiting that tested your patience. But all of it was necessary. God is about to take the very things that broke you and use them as the foundation for your elevation. What seemed like setbacks were actually setups for something greater. Stay grounded, chosen ones, because the shift is closer than you think. There's a stirring in the heavens, and your breakthrough is imminent. God's plan for you isn't just to bless you, it's to make you a living testimony of his power and glory. The question is, are you ready for what's coming? There's a reason God keeps his chosen ones hidden before revealing them to the world. The hidden season isn't about punishment, it's about preparation. During this time, you're refined, strengthened, and molded into the person God needs you to be. It's a sacred process, often misunderstood by others, but deeply intentional. You might have questioned why you've been overlooked, passed over, or underestimated. But let me remind you, diamonds are formed in the dark under intense pressure. In the same way, your hidden season is where your brilliance is being crafted. Think of Yeshua during his early years. The Son of God himself wasn't immediately recognized by the masses. He grew in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and man, Luke 2:52. His hidden years were essential for the mission that lay ahead. In the same way, your quiet season is God's way of preparing you for the weight of the calling you're about to step into. During this time, you may find relationships shifting. People you thought would support you might drift away. Others may misunderstand your journey. But remember, God is pruning your life for a reason. He's removing anything that could hinder your growth or distract you from your purpose. Trust the process, even when it feels isolating. God is not just preparing you, he's protecting you. There's a spiritual battle waged against the chosen ones, and this hidden season is a time of equipping you with the armor you'll need. When the time comes and you're thrust into the spotlight, you'll stand firm, not swayed by the opinions of man, but grounded in the truth of who God says you are. Can you feel it, the stirring in your spirit? It's a sign that the time is near. But for now, remain patient and obedient. God's timing is perfect, and when he says it's time, the doors will open in ways you never imagined. Something extraordinary happens when God begins to shift your identity. It's not just about changing how others see you, it's about transforming how you see yourself. This shift is internal, deeply spiritual, and often accompanied by resistance. The enemy will try to convince you that you're unworthy, but God is rewriting your story, chosen one, and no one can stop it. Look at how Yeshua called Simon Peter to his higher purpose. He told him, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which means Peter, John 1:42. With this declaration, Yeshua wasn't just changing Simon's name. He was declaring a new identity, one tied to his purpose as the rock upon which the church would be built. In the same way, God is speaking a new name over you. Perhaps you've carried labels from your past: failure, misfit, unworthy. But those labels no longer define you. God is calling you His chosen, His anointed, His vessel for greatness. This isn't about ego, it's about alignment with the divine plan He has for your life. As this shift takes place, you might feel a tension between who you were and who you're becoming. People who knew the old version of you might struggle to accept the changes they see. Don't let their doubt discourage you. What they don't realize is that you've been set apart for something higher. This divine shift in your identity will often require you to walk in faith. There will be moments when the promises God has spoken over you seem distant, even impossible. But remember, He is faithful. For we live by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Trust that what He has started in you, He will bring to completion. The transformation isn't easy, but it's necessary. Embrace it, chosen one. God is preparing you to step into a role that will change lives, starting with your own. There's something unmistakable about the favor of God. It doesn't follow human logic or fairness. It is unearned, unmerited, and often unexpected. When God's favor finds you, it changes everything: your circumstances, your relationships, and even the trajectory of your life. Think of the story of Esther. She was a young Jewish girl, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Yet, through divine favor, she was elevated to a position of influence as queen, placed there for a purpose greater than herself. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther 4:14. You too have been positioned for such a time as this. God's favor will open doors that no man can shut. But with favor comes responsibility. It's not just about being elevated, it's about being prepared to handle the weight of the blessing. God isn't just giving you favor for your sake. He's giving it so you can be a light in dark places, a voice for the voiceless, and a vessel for His glory. When God's favor finds you, it often stirs jealousy in others. Not everyone will celebrate your elevation. Some will question why you were chosen, why you're succeeding when they are not. Remember, their opinions are irrelevant in the face of God's plan for your life. You were chosen for a reason, and that reason is between you and Him. As this favor manifests, it's vital to stay grounded. Pride is the quickest way to lose the blessings God has placed in your life. Instead, walk in humility, always acknowledging the source of your elevation. The world may see your success, but you know it's the hand of God guiding your steps. God's favor is coming, chosen one. When it arrives, be ready to walk boldly into the opportunities He places before you. What you do with His favor will define the legacy you leave behind. Have you ever wondered why, despite your talents and efforts, you were overlooked time and time again? It wasn't because you lacked value. No, chosen one, it was because God was hiding you. He was reserving you for a specific time and purpose, one that required careful preparation. Think about David. Before he became king, he was tending sheep, unnoticed by the world. When Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David wasn't even called in from the field. Yet, God knew exactly where he was and had already chosen him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Your season of being overlooked was not a rejection. It was divine protection. God was shielding you from premature exposure, ensuring that when the time came for your elevation, you'd be fully prepared to handle it. He was working on your heart, your character, and your spirit, refining you in ways others couldn't see. The truth is, being overlooked can be painful. It can make you question your worth and your purpose. But don't let those doubts take root. God has always seen you, even when others didn't. He's been writing your story behind the scenes, preparing to reveal you in His perfect timing. And now, as the veil begins to lift, those who once ignored you will have no choice but to notice. They'll wonder where you came from, how you suddenly became so visible. But you'll know the truth. It was never about you forcing your way forward. It was about God positioning you for such a time as this. Stay patient, chosen one. The season of being overlooked is ending, and a new chapter is beginning. Are you ready to step into the spotlight? Transition is never easy, especially when you're moving from a place of obscurity to a position of influence. It's a season marked by both excitement and challenges, as God begins to reveal the fullness of His plan for your life. Think of Yeshua's transition from His hidden years to His public ministry. For 30 years, He lived in relative obscurity, quietly preparing for the work He was called to do. Then, in a moment, everything shifted. His baptism by John marked the beginning of His ministry, and the heavens opened with these words, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Matthew 3:17. In the same way, your transition will come with divine affirmation. God will open doors you never thought possible and place you in rooms you never imagined entering. But with this new level comes new responsibilities. You'll need to learn how to navigate the weight of influence while staying true to your purpose. One of the biggest challenges during this transition is staying grounded. The world will try to pull you in different directions, tempting you to compromise your values for the sake of popularity or success. But remember, your influence is not for you, it's for God's glory. Stay anchored in Him and you'll remain on the right path. This transition will also require discernment. Not everyone who claps for you has your best interests at heart. As your influence grows, so will the number of people who want to be part of your journey. Be prayerful about who you allow into your inner circle and trust God to reveal the motives of those around you. The shift from obscurity to influence is a divine process, chosen one. Embrace it with humility, faith, and an unwavering commitment to the calling God has placed on your life. The world is watching, but more importantly, heaven is cheering you on. As God elevates you, chosen one, humility will be your greatest ally. The higher you rise, the greater the temptation to take credit for the journey. But remember, the same God who lifts you can also bring you low if pride takes root in your heart. Think about Yeshua, the ultimate example of humility. Though He was God in the flesh, He chose to serve others rather than seek glory for Himself. Philippians 2:8 reminds us, "And being found in appearance as a man, He humbled Himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." Yeshua's humility wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a testament to His strength and purpose. You've been chosen not just for greatness, but to model humility in the face of it. As opportunities arise and recognition pours in, the enemy will try to convince you that you deserve the glory. Don't fall for that trap. The favor on your life isn't about you. It's about God working through you. Humility also means serving others, even as you step into influence. As you rise, you'll encounter people who look up to you, who are inspired by your journey. Use your platform to uplift and empower them. Never forget that your calling is to be a light, pointing others to the one who made your success possible. This test of humility won't always be easy. There will be moments when your flesh wants to boast, or when others push you to exalt yourself. In those times, remember the words of James 4:10. "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you up." True elevation comes from staying grounded in God's purpose. The test of humility is ongoing, chosen one. Embrace it, for it is the key to sustaining the blessings God has placed in your life. The question is, can you remain humble as God takes you higher? God never moves without sending signs. If you've been paying attention, you might have noticed subtle yet undeniable shifts in your life. These are the markers of your coming elevation, chosen one. The question is, are you ready to recognize and embrace them? One of the first signs is a growing sense of discomfort in your current situation. The things that once satisfied you no longer feel fulfilling. This isn't because you're ungrateful. It's because God is expanding your capacity. He's preparing you for a new season, and part of that preparation involves making the old season feel too small to contain you. Another sign is the pruning of relationships. You may have noticed people falling away or distancing themselves from you. While this can be painful, it's necessary. God is removing those who cannot go with you to the next level. As Yeshua said in John 15:2, every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. Trust that this pruning is for your growth. You may also notice an increase in spiritual attacks. The enemy often intensifies his efforts when he senses that your breakthrough is near. Don't let this discourage you. It's a confirmation that you're on the right path. Instead, strengthen your spiritual armor and stand firm in your faith, knowing that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. Finally, there will be divine opportunities that seem to come out of nowhere. Doors you never knocked on will suddenly open, and resources will appear just when you need them. These moments are not coincidences. They are God's hand at work, aligning everything for your elevation. The signs are all around you, chosen one. Pay attention and remain obedient to God's guidance. Your elevation is near, and the world is about to see the greatness He has placed within you. Are you prepared for what's coming next? When God decides to amplify your light, it's not for your glory, but for His purpose. He doesn't simply elevate His chosen ones to showcase their abilities. He elevates them to be a reflection of His love, power, and sovereignty. This amplification is part of His divine strategy to make His name known through you. Think about Yeshua's words in Matthew 5:14-16. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. Your light is not meant to be hidden. It's meant to shine brightly, guiding others to the truth. As God amplifies your light, expect to find yourself in situations where your character and faith will be tested. The spotlight often brings scrutiny, and how you respond will speak volumes. Your reactions, choices, and even your silence can be powerful testimonies to God's work in your life. This amplification isn't just about visibility, it's about influence. God will place you in positions where your voice matters, where your actions carry weight. This influence is a tool, not a trophy. It's a means to uplift others, inspire change, and lead people toward the path of righteousness. But with amplified light comes responsibility. The brighter you shine, the more attention you attract, not just from those who celebrate you, but also from those who envy or oppose you. Stay anchored in God's truth and let His word be your guide. As Psalm 119:105 reminds us, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. The world needs your light, chosen one. As God amplifies it, remember that the purpose is far greater than you. Will you let Him use you to illuminate the darkness? Stepping into the fullness of your calling means embracing the profound truth that your life is not your own. You are a vessel, chosen, shaped, and refined by God to carry His presence and manifest His glory in the world. This realization transforms the way you live, shifting your focus from self-centered ambitions to a divine purpose that reaches far beyond yourself. The concept of being a vessel is rooted in surrender. It requires acknowledging that everything you have, your talents, resources, and opportunities, comes from God. As a vessel, your role is not to hold on to these blessings, but to allow them to flow through you, impacting those around you. This isn't always easy, especially in a world that glorifies self-promotion and personal achievement. But chosen one, you are called for something far greater than the fleeting recognition of man. Look to Yeshua as the ultimate example of living as a vessel for God's glory. His entire life was a testament to submission and obedience to the Father's will. In John 17:4, he declared, "I have brought you glory on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do." Yeshua's miracles, teachings, and even his sacrifice on the cross were all about revealing the nature of God's love and power to the world. He wasn't concerned with building his own reputation. His mission was to glorify the Father. In the same way, your elevation is not about you. The blessings, opportunities, and influence that come your way are not just for your benefit. They're tools God uses to accomplish his greater plan. Your trials, too, play a role. The struggles you've endured and the victories you've achieved are all part of your testimony, a living story that demonstrates God's faithfulness and grace. Being a vessel also means being available. Just as a potter molds clay into a vessel for a specific purpose, God is shaping you to fulfill a unique role in his kingdom. But the vessel must be willing to be used. This requires flexibility and openness to God's leading, even when his plans differ from your own. It's not always easy to surrender control, especially when the path ahead feels uncertain. Yet, as Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Living as a vessel for God's glory also demands integrity. As your influence grows, so does the scrutiny on your actions. People will watch how you handle success, how you treat others, and how you respond to challenges. Your life becomes a reflection of your relationship with God. When you walk in integrity, you point others to him, showing that his principles are worth living by. However, being a vessel doesn't mean life will always be easy. In fact, it often brings challenges. The enemy will attempt to distract, discourage, or discredit you because he knows the impact you're capable of having. Spiritual attacks may increase as you step into your purpose, but take heart. God equips his vessels with everything they need to withstand these challenges. Remember the promise of Isaiah 54:17. "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." At the same time, the rewards of living as a vessel far outweigh the difficulties. There is a profound joy that comes from knowing you're aligned with God's purpose, that your life is making an eternal impact. As you pour into others, you'll find that God continually fills you, providing strength, wisdom, and peace in abundance. Perhaps one of the greatest rewards is the opportunity to witness the ripple effects of your obedience. As you live out your calling, you'll inspire others to seek God and discover their own purpose. Your life becomes a light that draws people closer to him, fulfilling the words of Matthew 5:16. "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Chosen one, you were not called to blend in or to live an ordinary life. You were set apart to be a vessel of God's glory, a beacon of his love, grace, and power. This calling requires humility, obedience, and a deep trust in his plan. But as you embrace it, you'll find that the life God has designed for you is far greater than anything you could have imagined. The question remains, are you ready to surrender fully and let God use you in ways beyond your comprehension? When God fulfills His promises, it's a moment unlike any other. It's the culmination of your faith, patience, and obedience. But it's also the beginning of a new chapter, one where your life becomes a living testament to God's glory and faithfulness. Chosen one, the promise God made to you wasn't just for your benefit. It was always part of a greater plan to use you as a vessel for His purpose. The fulfillment of God's promises often exceeds human expectations. Think of Abraham, who waited years for the promise of a son. When Isaac was finally born, it wasn't just a blessing for Abraham and Sarah, it was the start of a covenant that would impact generations. God's promises are never small. They are always tied to something greater than what we can see in the moment. You might wonder, why did it take so long? The truth is, God's timing is perfect. The waiting season wasn't a delay, it was preparation. Every challenge, every setback, and every moment of doubt was shaping you into the person you needed to become to receive the promise. Had the fulfillment come sooner, you might not have been ready to handle it. But now, after walking through the fire, you're stronger, wiser, and more grounded in your faith. Think about Yeshua. The ultimate promise of salvation was fulfilled through His death and resurrection. But before that moment, there was a process. His ministry, His teachings, and even His suffering were all part of the fulfillment of God's plan. Yeshua's obedience, even unto death, paved the way for the promise to be realized. In the same way, your obedience and faithfulness have positioned you to step into the promise God has for your life. As the promise unfolds, it will bring both blessings and responsibilities. With every new level of elevation comes a greater level of stewardship. God is entrusting you with influence, resources, and opportunities, not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of others. Your life is now a platform for His glory. How you handle this season will determine the legacy you leave behind. Fulfillment doesn't mean the absence of challenges. In fact, the enemy often intensifies his attacks when you step into your promise. He knows the impact you're about to have and will do everything in his power to derail you. But take heart, chosen one, for God has equipped you for this battle. Ephesians 6:10-11 reminds us to be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. The fulfillment of the promise also brings opportunities to give back. God's blessings are meant to flow through you, not stop with you. As you walk in your calling, look for ways to pour into others. Mentor, uplift, and inspire those who are still in their waiting season. Share your story of how God brought you through, and let it be a source of hope for those who feel stuck or forgotten. In this season, gratitude is key. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the promise being fulfilled, but don't forget to thank the one who made it all possible. Psalm 104 says, "Enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him and praise His name." Let your gratitude be a daily reminder of God's faithfulness and goodness. Finally, remember that the promise is not the end of the journey. It's a milestone, a marker of God's faithfulness, but there's still more to come. God's plans for you are far greater than you can imagine. What He has fulfilled so far is just a glimpse of what He intends to do through you. Stay humble, stay obedient, and stay open to His leading. Chosen one, you've reached a pivotal moment. The promise is here, and the world is watching. How will you steward what God has entrusted to you? Will you use this season to bring glory to His name, to uplift others, and to walk boldly in your calling? The stage is set, and the spotlight is on you, not for your glory, but for His. This is the fulfillment of the promise, but it's also the beginning of something even greater. Are you ready to step into it fully and let God continue to work through you?
chosen ones. If you enjoy our videos and would like to support our channel, feel free to buy us a coffee. The link will be in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.